Let's face it, you probably haven't saved enough money, if any, towards paying for your kids' upcoming college education. Now, I don't say that to make you feel guilty or make you angry. The fact is, that probably is where you are. It's a reality. College and all of the expenses related to it are on the horizon, if not staring you down in the face right now. You might be like most parents out there, simply preparing to stick your head in the sand and hoping the problem goes away. You might be like some other parents out there who simply believe that something will come up to save that day, like winning the lottery. Others still feel that they might be able to ask your kids' grandparents for some of the money. And believe it or not, some parents simply conclude that they will not be able to help their kids with paying for college, but that the kids will have to pay for it themselves by taking out student loans. I don't know where you are exactly at this point in time with regard to solving this problem, but I can tell you one thing regardless of where you are and what you think you can do to solve this problem. You and your kids are facing a financial train wreck. Obviously, the solution is not sticking your head in the sand, and obviously you're not going to be winning the lottery anytime soon. And your kids' grandparents probably don't have enough money to pay heavily towards your kids' college education and still survive financially themselves. And if you think your kids are going to be getting scholarships and grants, you better start thinking again, because the numbers are stacked heavily against that happening. And let's talk for just a moment about student loans. Taking that path is probably one of the most serious financial mistakes you and your kids could take. I'll sum it up this way. When you start taking out student loans, it becomes an addictive, delusional, bad solution because there's a high likelihood that those loans will probably not be paid off for 25 years. That fact alone will ruin their financial future. Trust me, I know about financial aid. I'm a retired professor, and I sat on the financial aid committee of a well-known university. I know what the chances are of you and your kids surviving this financial debacle. I also know from the perspective of a parent who's put 2 kids through a complete college education. But here's something you should know about my situation. Because of my academic background and because of some of the information I'm willing to share with you about how to pay for college, even if you haven't saved a dime, both of my kids graduated from a major 4-year university with absolutely zero educational debt and absolutely zero personal debt. As a matter of fact, because neither they nor I didn't have to worry about paying for college out of pocket, they were able to accumulate substantial savings accounts by the end of their college careers from the jobs they had held during the summers. They graduated from college with money in their pockets and no debt. Now let me ask you a question. If I were able to share with you valuable information that could help you and your kids attain the same level of financial success as my kids did, would you be willing to listen to that information? Would you be willing to accept the keys to financial freedom for your kids by listening to a presentation about how to pay for college without getting into debt? Would you be willing to do that? If your kids could avoid building an almost insurmountable mountain of life-killing debt, would you be willing to go online and listen and watch a webinar specifically dedicated to that solution? Would you be willing to do that? Now, let me make clear one very important fact. This is not about selling you an appointment with a financial services individual who would be interested only in selling you a commissionable financial product. This is a purely informational, educational webinar. Every day of every week, we make offers to people just like you to help solve an almost unsolvable problem by inviting them to an online webinar that they can watch from the convenience of their homes at a time convenient with their schedules. We make this offer to literally thousands of people every week by calling them as we called you and encouraging them to watch this very message that you're watching right now. From those thousands who get the offer and who watch the presentation, some people take us up on our offer and are well off financially because of that decision. And of course, human nature being what it is, others ignore this offer and stick their heads in the sand, hoping they'll win the Powerball next Saturday night. They're putting themselves in a financial hole that they'll never dig themselves out of. So here is our offer. We will extend an invitation to you to hear this extremely helpful and valuable webinar. Normally, we charge $199 to attend one of our live workshops. In addition to that ticket cost, there are inconveniences associated with attending a live event, namely having to leave your home and travel to the workshop destination. That can be a major hassle for a lot of reasons, which we're not going to detail here. But we're not going to charge you $199 because this is a virtual event. It's a presentation that is done online, and therefore the cost of setting up and running a live event are eliminated, and we can pass that savings along to you. Since you received our initial telephone invitation and took the time to dial into this information line and to listen to the end, we're going to give you access to the full webinar as well as replays so that you can listen as many times as you want to benefit the most from the information for a one-time low-ticket price. And let me comment on one thing. We can say that we're offering this low price on a one-time basis, and we mean just exactly that. Once this offer has been made, which is what is occurring right now as you watch, you'll have 48 hours in which to make a decision to take the next step. Since you logged into our system, we're able to track the date and the time as well as your email address of your access to this webinar. The clock begins to tick as this webinar concludes. So here is the offer. We will give you access to our webinar, How to Pay for College Without Going into Debt, for a low one-time ticket price of just $39. If you want to take the next step and reserve your seat, at the end of this webinar you'll have the opportunity to call into our reservation line and provide your name and contact information so that we can invoice you for the webinar. When we follow up with you by phone, you can pay the ticket price by using a major credit card such as MasterCard, Visa, or Discover. We don't accept American Express. We do not accept cash, and we do not accept checks or money orders, so please be prepared to use any of those previously mentioned financial instruments to pay for your ticket. Now, let me make something very clear because the end of this session is somewhat salesy. Because we enable live interaction on both our live presentations and our replays, we limit the number of attendees at any one webinar session so that we can handle the volume of exchanges between us and our audience. We will answer as many questions that the audience may have in real time, usually by email and sometimes by open chat sessions. The point I'm trying to make here is that we interact with the audience in a responsible and helpful manner, so we limit the number of attendees to ensure that this happens. Our webinars fill up very quickly, and for those who do not take action quickly, there can be substantial delays in gaining access to future sessions. As I mentioned at the opening of this presentation, every week we make this offer to thousands and thousands of people just like you. It doesn't take much of a positive response to fill a webinar room with 1,000 attendees. So I'd encourage you to take action at the conclusion of this message. We will ask for your name, your cell phone number, and your email address. Without this information, we cannot process your request, so be sure to provide us with what we need to make this possible for you. And let me repeat myself in conclusion. Because of my academic background and the fact that I sat on the financial aid committee of a well-known university, and as a result of the very same information that I'm about to offer you, my own children graduated from college with no personal and no academic debt. This can happen for you and your children too, but you need to take action. Our registration line is available 24/7 and is as follows. Please copy it down. 804-234-1187. You'll be able to see that in the upper right-hand corner of this webinar presentation area. This is the end of the webinar, and I hope to see you at the webinar. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your attention.